Decision making in periodontal therapy. Let me give a brief introduction on this. So, clinical decisions regarding selection of appropriate periodontal therapy is a multifactorial process involving the assimilation of information from clinical experiences, relevant research, and patient preferences for anticipated outcomes. So, in order to select the treatment which is most beneficial to patients, a rational, systematic approach to decision making is always needed, and clinical experience is essentially a key factor in decision making but not easily controlled for. So, research till date has focused only on clinical outcomes as a measurement of treatment efficacy, but few studies provides the highest level of evidence. So here is the decision making chart that helps in identifying and managing the local factors in periodontal disease. So first we will be performing the periodontal examination and the risk factor assessment. So we will be having patients with bacterial plaque and calculus and tooth malposition, poor restorations due to an iatrogenic reason, and anatomical factors which can be divided into two categories, that is tooth associated factors and soft tissue factors, and caries, occlusal trauma, soft tissue trauma, and tobacco use. So, in case if you are having a patient with a bacterial plaque and calculus in higher depositions, first line of treatment would be the preventive care or the oral hygiene instructions and appropriate periodontal instrumentation. And if there is a tooth malposition, we have to do a selective extraction or an orthodontic therapy. If it is a poor restoration, either we have to replace or modify the restoration, and we can also correct the biological with violation and address other heterogenic factors as appropriate. And if it is a tooth associated factor, we should consider doing an odontoplasty. And if it is a soft tissue factor, we should consider doing soft tissue grafts, gingivectomy, and gingival flaps. In case if it is a caries, we have to restore or extract the tooth. And if it is due to an occlusal trauma, we can adjust the occlusion, and we can consider orthodontic therapy or restorative therapy, or even splinting can be considered. And if it is a soft tissue trauma, we have to focus on relieving the factor which is actually causing the trauma. So we have to remove the oral jewelry if it is causing any kind of irritation, and we have to correct the oral hygiene techniques, and we have to alter the offending patient behavior. And if that is due to a tobacco use, you should consider advising the patient of risk and facilitate quitting as appropriate method. So this is the decision making chart, which tells you how to categorize a patient uh, can be considered for periodontal surgery. So first you need to determine whether the periodontal surgical procedure would improve the clinical situation. Then, if it is an yes, you can evaluate the medical status of the patient, and you have to check whether there are any kind of contraindications to the patient for the periodontal surgical procedure. If there are any contraindications being seen, you have to come to a conclusion that periodontal surgery is not an option, but you can consider consultation and alternative supportive care treatment. If there are no contraindications, the next level would be determining the behavioral status of the patient. You have to check whether there are any kind of contraindications to the periodontal surgical therapy. If there are contraindications, you should encourage behavioral modification of the patient. If the patient is still non-responsive, you can consider that periodontal surgery is not an option, and you can go for any kind of alternative supportive care treatment. If the patient is responding well to the behavioral modification, you can discuss the expectations of the patient, and you can make the financial arrangements. And if there are inadequate resources, and the patient is also having unrealistic expectations, you should consider a alternative treatment. If the expectations are met and there are adequate resources, you can proceed with the surgical treatment plan. Here is the decision-making chart for gingival recession. First, we have to assess the adequacy of attached gingiva. If the attached gingiva is adequate, we have to assess the aesthetic concerns. There are aesthetic concerns. You can consider doing a connective tissue graft or a coronally advanced flap, or connective tissue graft which is combined with the coronally advanced flap. And if there is no aesthetic concerns, we have to check for the caries risk and sensitivity. If there is caries risk and sensitivity, we can consider doing a connective tissue graft or a coronally advanced flap. If there is no caries risk, there is no treatment is required. And in case if there is inadequate attached gingiva, we have to assess the adjacent attached gingiva if there is adequate adjacent attached gingiva or not. If there is no thick adjacent attached gingiva, we can consider doing a connective tissue graft or free gingival graft, or free gingival graft followed by a coronally advanced flap for the patient. In case if the adjacent attached gingiva is adequate to the recession defect, we have to assess the location of the adequate attached gingiva on the adjacent tooth. If it is present on only one lateral side, we can do a lateral position flap or a lateral position flap with connective tissue graft. And if it is present on two lateral sides, we can consider doing a double papillary flap or a double papillary flap with a connective tissue graft. This chart helps in differentiating an endodontal pain from a periodontal pain. So, first we have to determine the quality and character of the pain, and we have to perform the clinical examination and check whether the tooth is vital or not. If the tooth is vital, the pain must be a quick, fast, sharp pain, non lingering pain, or else it would be spontaneous, intense, or a lingering pain. And if the pain is non-lingering, quick and fast and short, it must be due to a open tubule erosion and faulty restoration or caries, where we have to do a restorative or a transdentinal therapy. If the pain is spontaneous, intense, lingering pain, it must be due to a irreversible pulpitis condition, where we have to do a root canal therapy. If the tooth is non-vital along with symptoms of pain, so this pain and sensitivity to touch, percussion, and along with there is some kind of minor radiographic changes is also seen. It's due to a necrosis with acute apical periodontitis, where the treatment is also an endodontic therapy. And if the patient is presented with a swelling and pain, we have to check whether the tooth is vital or non-vital. And if the tooth is non-vital, there will be no radiographic changes or minimal changes can be seen. So usually this is necrosis with abscess, where we have to do a root canal therapy. And if the tooth is vital, there must be a generalized deep probing depths along with high deposition of plaque and calculus. And you can also see a periodontal abscess. So mostly the periodontal therapy will determine the prognosis here. In case if you're planning an implant for a patient with missing tooth or teeth needing replacement, so the first step would be consideration of implants for the missing tooth or teeth, where you will be determining the medical and psychological status of the patient, and you have to see whether there are any kind of contraindications to the implants for that particular patient. If there are contraindications, implants are never an option, and you have to consider alternative treatment options. In case if there are no contraindications, you have to discuss the financial arrangements of the patient and also the expectations of the patients. If the patient's expectations are unrealistic and also there are inadequate resources for the patient, you have to discuss other alternative treatments. In case if the expectations are realistic and there are also adequate resources, we have to first perform a periodontal assessment and develop a prosthetic plan to determine optimal implant location, and to check whether a periodontal therapy will be required before an implant placement. So if the periodontal therapy is required, it should be treated before placing an implant, and also we have to proceed with the assessment and the treatment plan. And sometimes the periodontal therapy is not needed. We can straight away go for the assessment of the quality and the quantity of bone and the adequacy of the soft tissue around the particular site. So, if there is inadequate bone or soft tissue and also that site is not conducive to augmentation, we have to discuss other alternative treatment plans. And in case if there is adequate bone and soft tissue, we can straight away place an implant. And also, even if there is inadequate bone or soft tissue, but the site is conducive to augmentation, we can augment as needed, and after that, we can place an implant. So, clinical decision making should be impacted by the results of risk assessment process. Patients can be identified according to the level of risk as low, moderate, or high risk patients, and this will most likely require modification of their individual tooth and overall prognosis based on their level of risk, as well as their non-surgical, surgical, and supportive periodontal treatment plans. So previously identified risk elements should also be considered, and they have to be reassessed at the reevaluation and maintenance stages of treatment. Ultimately, at all stages of care, a thorough risk element assessment should improve the clinical decision making as well as the patient outcomes. Thank you.